to your origin story, which I'll now kindly hand over to Maria, because Maria, you want to speak. We want to touch on Stephen's backstory and how he got into running his own company.
I mean that's what I was quite interested in finding out. You know, your career in corporate and then moving into, and then how you moved that journey from moving from corporate when you enjoyed the job into doing what you do now and running your own business.
So I sold software for about 10 years, enterprise software, selling big deals, big companies. It was complicated, it was competitive, it was expensive. I had a bunch of team around me, unlimited resources. And with that, being in software sales, being like the sales lead, you're kind of like the quarterback on the team. You have all these players around you, and your job is to keep driving the deal, the opportunity forward. And with that, I would be traveling a lot. I was constantly in airports, hotels, planes, eating artificial food, eating like processed food on the go, not really taking care of myself, just like, okay, the next sale, the next hunt, the next deal. And that got me to a point where I'm like, okay, like materially, I had everything that I wanted, yet I was very unfulfilled and out of balance, like a pendulum that had swung too far into this artificial world of technology, processed food, instant gratification. It was leading me to a place of anxiety. And for the first time in my life, that anxiety was building, and it was dipping me in and out of depression, where I was feeling like apocalyptic thoughts about my life in the world. I was like, if a war broke out right outside of my office or my home right now, that'd be a pretty great way to go. I was like, okay, this is depression, tapping into my inner self that was screaming for me to go back to plants, to go back to nature. I booked a one-way ticket down to South America, and I started just traveling all through South America to reconnect with nature and disconnect from that kind of past unnatural way of living that everybody says, like, hey, this is the way to go be a cog in a corporate wheel and everything's going to be great. And it was pretty great until the wheels fell off, and it really wasn't great at all. So I found myself in Iquitos, Peru, which is the largest city in the world, not accessible by road, in the heart of the Amazon jungle, surrounded by over 150,000 different plants and animals. And I had some connections there, and I was able to start to learn under some of the indigenous people, and being guided through the jungle by these indigenous, I was able to see their world through their eyes, and where they would see life, death, food, medicine, shelter. I saw nothing. I was completely illiterate to that world. And then thinking back to the parks that I grew up around in Chicago that had 1 or 2 dozen plants, I'm like, I don't know what any of those plants are, let alone what they do. And if I'm of any average experience, Western experience, then this is most of our Western culture. We're very disconnected from plants and nature. So with a renewed sense of purpose, passion, with a new mission to connect people with these powerful plants to help heal them and heal our world, I came back to Colorado, and I started just growing lots of plants. And my apartment basically turned into a hydroponic farm. And hydroponics just means growing without soil. So growing all these different types of leafy greens and herbs, and eventually stumbled upon microgreens. I'm like, how come nobody's doing anything with these microgreens? Like we said before, they exist just in high-end restaurants as a garnish, as like this little beautiful piece of art, as like a total afterthought. Where in Europe and Australia and parts of Asia, they're the center of the dish, and they're promoted, and people are educated on it. Not here in the U.S. I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of education for me to do, and then to educate customers. There's a real opportunity here. So I moved from Denver out to the mountains where all the ski resorts are, called Breckenridge, Colorado, and I started growing, and I started a hydroponic microgreens farm, and servicing those high-end resorts. This is like the highest concentration of those high-end restaurants in Colorado. And it's basically like living on an island. Everything has to be imported. I was the only farm out in the mountains. With that, I was like, okay, how do I share these though outside of this island?
Yeah.
because microgreens are so fragile that they don't travel well. If you've seen basil at the grocery store and it already looks wilted and kind of dead, well, that's 3-4 weeks old. A microgreen is less than half that age, so even more fragile. And so they don't transport well. The average microgreens farmer delivers within a 20-mile radius. And it's like, okay, well, how do I allow access to more people to these microgreens? And I started dehydrating them. And today, like I said, we freeze dry them. I started mixing them into different products. And the tea, herbal, organic, functional teas based around focus, energy, recovery, and relaxation, people found those really interesting. And they're like, I get it. And we're getting good testimonials. And it was really helping people, especially around sleep and pain. So in November of 2018, Micro Tea, which was the previous name of my company, now Beyond Microgreens, was born. So that was the first shelf-stable microgreens product. And then I moved to Boulder, Colorado, which is where I'm at today. Boulder, Colorado is the Silicon Valley of the natural products industry. This is where lots of really creative, innovative natural products come from. This is the center of it. And so I came here to give my business the best opportunity at success, from customers, from mentors, from business services to different infrastructures. We do everything within a commercial kitchen. So it has all the right certifications and we're all taken care of in that way. And so today we are beyond microgreens, so expanding beyond just tea. Now we're putting microgreens into everything, and to help take that empty food and make it full. The way that we see it is our food is empty, as we were just kind of talking about. Even those vegetables that we're getting, we don't know if there's anything in it. The more you dig into it, the more you start to believe that our food is empty, and we don't know it. So our bodies aren't getting enough of the good things that they need, so they're not working right. So our goal is to make full food.
All right, okay. Can I ask, so how long did you spend in South America learning the different plants and what they do?
I was down there for 4 months, and I've gone back twice a year for the past 3 years prior to COVID.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And Stephen, I wanted to ask, what did it feel like when you were in your apartment, when you came back from South America, enthused by just growing plants and being surrounded in nature in your apartment? What did you actually feel like actually living with the hydroponic plants? Was it a gradual, because you were suffering from anxiety, was it a gradual change in your feelings and your senses? Was it immediate? How did you actually feel being surrounded by plants in a small environment?
It's a favorite place for me to be. When I was growing in the microgreens farm, I just loved being around those plants. There's something very powerful around being around that many plants. And I went from growing 1 or 2 house plants to growing thousands of plants very quickly. And it is very healing, soothing. You love to just be with them. And it's an amazing transformation from a seed to here's something that you can eat in 1 to 2 weeks. So it's really fun to watch that transformation. Every day there's a big change. So I found it very healing. And I find for myself, the closer I get to plants, the better my life and the life of those around me gets.
I see. And one of the things that I'm curious about is the metaphysical benefits of food. So as we established, it's probably evident that most of the food is asleep, chemically asleep. What's the feeling when people eat your product, microgreens? What's the feeling on what feeling do they experience? So I think we touched on this in the pre-interview. Could we just go back over that again? So if you're physically fit, do you feel an immediate benefit? If you're in less good health, do you feel it's just the benefits, the feeling of the benefits, do they take longer? How does it work in your opinion?
Yeah, So most of the food that we're eating, like we were saying, is weeks, if not months old. So it's very rare to get to eat something that was harvested same day, or something that was harvested just moments, 1 or 2 minutes ago, that's still alive, that still has living cells moving through it. So many of our cells are replaced every 24 hours. So if you're putting living cells into your body really likes that. It's like very awakening, and it's almost like lightning for your blood. Sometimes we'll juice these microgreens, and it's like, whoa, that's when you can feel it the most. Doesn't matter who you are, if you're young, old, healthy, sick, like you really feel that, because that's like a straight IV, goes straight into the blood. I find our greatest testimonials are around those that are sick and elderly, because these microgreens have a way of activating different pathways in the body, and the older you get, the less active those pathways are. They just degrade over time, 1 to 3% every year after the age of 20. So these microgreens can allow you to start creating your own antioxidants when you were reliant on antioxidants from blueberries and green tea and external sources to counteract all these free radicals. Free radicals are what we're being constantly bombarded with from technology, stress, different foods, from physical activity, whatever, from pollution, whatever it might be. And the antioxidants counteract the free radicals. Antioxidants are very potent in the microgreens, and some of these microgreens have sulforaphane, which activate NRF2 pathways, which allow us to then start creating our own antioxidants, which are way more powerful than ones that we can consume. And yeah, it's very noticeable. We get our best testimonials around helping people with sleep, helping people with pain, and especially for the sick and elderly, and for athletes too, because athletes put their bodies through so much stress that it's very noticeable for them. But there's very few things that you can take, like there's any like a vitamin A, B, D that you can take and be like, oh, I feel a noticeable difference if you're like a healthy person.
That must be quite incredible to actually consume something, and then we know it's like if you drink a coffee, half an hour later you feel quite zip, but something that's completely natural, and you've caught it in a part of its growth cycle, which in itself it's strong and potent, and then you consume that must be quite a phenomenal feeling on the body. It must just zip zap zops start to get the body going and things firing off, and the grey matter, everything kind of tingling and jingling. That must be quite
your body incredible. Just knows. Your body's just like a yes to it. It's like, oh yeah, more of that. That's clearly medicine. That's clearly helping. That's clearly like what the body is hungry for.